Hello, it's Tanya with Tinkerin' and Ink with Tanya again, and I am back with another card from Display Stamper Blog Hop with the Artisan Design team. This one is with this adorable little mermaid, and we're going to do some of this watercolor, which I find super easy. We're using the Message in a Bottle stamp set again. Told you I couldn't stop using it. And for inside, we're going to use this Happiest of Birthdays to You stamp from Birthday Blooms, which is currently available. Well, Message in a Bottle is not. Alright, so let's get started. We're going to take a piece of watercolor cardstock and we're going to sponge on some color. We're going to use 3 of the new in colors: Fresh Fig, Powder Pink, and Tranquil Tides. Just open those up. And I'm going to start with the lightest. I'm just going to sponge some on the watercolor paper. Not really precise. If we look at the original here, we'll see which pattern I did that in. So this goes over here. And the Fresh Fig goes over here. Now this might end up darker than the first one. I don't know. I don't remember how much I inked. Then I'm going to take and spritz this. However, I don't want water all over my work surface. So, now, I don't know about you, but half the time I end up squirting myself. And we're going to use lots of water on this. Lots. I do mean lots. I'm just going to let that pool around. And then we're going to use the heat tool. And the goal here is to get lots of those hard edges out. Well, that wasn't intended. It's okay though. Kind of getting some splashes in there even. As it dries, the color gets more intense because I used quite a bit of ink. And by drying it, you get all these hard edges. And yes, it will straighten out eventually. Every time you do this, it's going to look different. Doing a little smoosh here. Picking up some of that extra color from my surface. Flip it over and try and straighten it out a little bit. Okay, and then the next thing I do is I spritz, well, I shake some water onto it. Let me get a good paintbrush for this. I don't want to spatter it all over the one I've already done, because that water will reactivate the ink and it will also make a mess on my existing card. So let that sit for a few seconds and we're going to dab that off. In the meantime, I'm cleaning my fingers off a little. And that makes that lovely speckliness. Then I'm just going to take a sweep of the Wink of Stella. This is one I've refilled with water a few times. So it's not as sparkly as a fresh wink of Stella. It will move the water or the ink around a little bit too, but I'm kind of making a little swoop of sparkliness. Now you can keep playing with this, or you can let it be. Okay, then I'm going to pause this and go die cut this with with one of the stitched framelits, the square ones. I'll be right back. Okay, this is all cut out, and you can choose to orient it however you want with your framelit. It doesn't have to be square. And then I'm going to take a scrap of watercolor paper and some archival basic black ink and our little Mermaid. And I just re-inked my black ink pad, so it's kind of juicy. Alright, now I fussy cut this little cutie pie. And as long as I'm stamping, I may as well do a few. There we go. Then if I screw up, I have some extras too. My stamps have gotten quite stained because I've used this stamp set a ton. Alright, then I'm going to take an aqua painter. I'm going to use the powder pink for her skin tone. We'll just use this one. I'm not being real precise. I hope you can see this. I have made other skin tones. I've actually made fairly white skin tone with soft suede. Just depends on how dilute you get the water. It can be pretty dilute. We're going to do some brunette hair. And I really, ideally, should not be watercoloring next to watercolor area that's already wet, because this can bleed into it. Watercolor likes to follow wetness. Add some darker tresses in here. You can get as fancy as you want, or just slap the color on and be happy. This is cute. It's such a small image, it goes pretty quickly to color her. A little green for her tail. Had to glance at my first one. I didn't remember for sure that that was what I did. Try to get some color variation here. Okay. Clean my brush, move to the next color, which will be some fresh fig. And we'll do her hat first. And her little shells. Where did I put my cloth? On the floor. Good place for it, right? Okay. Let's cut this little pretty out. It's a good thing I washed my hands. I'm not a huge fan of fussy cutting. If there was a die for this, I'd be using it. However, sometimes you just gotta cut. I wanted her to be a little higher than the rest of the image, or the splashing out of the water is what I was aiming for. And I didn't think cutting her out with the circle die would be enough of an effect. I'm sure there are people out there cringing at my poor fussy cutting skills. Sorry. This is why I like dies. Well, that's good enough for me. And we're going to take this aqua painter again and add some dabs. Kind of fish scaly looking, because the water's going to push some of the color away. Add some, just a touch of glimmer to her hair and her shells. Not a whole lot. So she's going to go right here. Get a couple dimensionals. Pop behind her. We're getting mini dimensionals in the next catalog. I'm so excited about that. Won't have to trim them down all the time anymore. Alright, so she's jumping up out of the water there. And then for this background piece, I took a 4 by 5 1/4 piece of thick Whisper White, because the regular Whisper White would warp way too much. And I ran it through the Big Shot with the Seaside embossing folder. Love that. And we're going to also get a couple of little sentiments on a thin strip of paper, which I normally cut it off of a bigger piece, but I have this strip, so we're going to see how straight I can stamp these. As soon as I find my black ink again. Oh, there it is. So we've got Make a Splash and It's Your Day. That looks pretty straight. And It's Your Day. And we're going to use the other end, because these are each coming from a different end on the finished product. There we go. I don't think I did too bad. I'll just snip those off. Alright, now I'm going to pause the video while I go stitch these onto the card base. Hang on. Alright, I think I hit stop instead of pause. Before I go stitch these, I dovetail the ends again, and then I lay this piece on to figure out where I want these, and I put a little fast fuse on the back. So kind of in the center, one above. I think I want that a little closer. One above and one below. That looks pretty good. Alright, now I will go stitch it. Okay, it's all stitched, and this is how I pull the tails through. So I just take one of them and I pull until there's a little loop, and I pull that loop through. And I'll do that for the other one. So there's no tails on the front of the card. Then I pin these back with a little piece of tape, and then they can't stick out. So there is that. And now we need to put this on a card base. Here is a Whisper White thick card base. Fast fuse. I could have stitched this to the card base, but I don't like the stitching to show on the inside of the card. The whole reason I like stitching is because it creates a nice finished edge, and then to have the exposed stitching inside bothers me. I know, I'm a little odd. It's okay. Alright, more dimensionals on the back of this. Had them a second ago. Here they are. And I don't like my cards to be saggy, so I am rather generous with these. Peel the backing off. Sometimes that's the hardest part, just getting the backing off. Okay, about centered. Alright, looking at the fronts of these, I would use more pink and a lot less of the darker colors next time if I was going to do this. But like I said, they come out different every time. Let's put a little happy inside. There we go. So there's our completed card. Tell me which one you like better. I also made, where'd it go? I made another card that you'll see later in the blog hop that is a slider card. Did the same technique to do the watercoloring, only it's bigger because the watercolor part is a whole panel. So when you see that card, you can come to this video and see the same technique. Catch you again later. Bye-bye.